Welcome to this video about Belle Starr, one of the most notorious outlaws of the American Old West. Born Myra Maybelle Shirley in Missouri in 1848, Belle Starr became a legendary figure for her sharpshooting skills, her association with the James Younger gang, and her independent and flamboyant personality. In this video, we'll explore Belle Starr's life, from her early criminal beginnings to her marriage to outlaw Sam Starr and her eventual imprisonment. We'll also discuss her legacy and why she remains an intriguing and fascinating figure in American folklore. So sit back, relax, and let's learn about the life of Belle Starr, the bandit queen of the Old West. Belle Starr was born Myra Maybelle Shirley in Missouri in 1848. Her family was relatively wealthy and had Confederate sympathies. However, when the Civil War broke out, they were forced to flee their home and move to Texas. It was there that Belle Starr's criminal career began. As a young woman, Belle Starr was drawn to the wild and lawless lifestyle of the Old West. She began associating with criminals and outlaws, including Jesse James and the Younger brothers. Belle Starr's first criminal activity was horse theft, a common crime in the area at the time. She quickly became known for her sharpshooting skills and her daring and fearless personality. Belle Starr was arrested for the first time in 1866 for her involvement in a theft ring. She was acquitted due to a lack of evidence, but it was clear that she was becoming a well-known figure in the criminal underworld of the Old West. Over the next few years, Belle Starr continued to engage in criminal activities, including bootlegging and robbery. Despite her criminal activities, Belle Starr was known for her beauty and charisma. She was often seen dressed in a fringed leather jacket and cowboy hat, which became her signature look. Belle Starr's reputation grew, and she became known as the bandit queen of the Old West. However, her criminal activities would eventually catch up with her, leading to her eventual arrest and imprisonment. Belle Starr's criminal career reached new heights when she became associated with the James Younger gang in the early 1870s. The gang, which included famous outlaws such as Jesse James and Cole Younger, was notorious for its daring bank and train robberies. Belle Starr was romantically involved with several members of the gang, including Cole Younger and Jim Reed, who would later become her husband. Belle Starr was known to have provided the gang with shelter and supplies, and she was rumored to have taken part in some of their robberies herself. Despite her association with the James Younger gang, Belle Starr was not always a welcome presence among the outlaws. Her flamboyant personality and independent spirit often clashed with the more conservative and traditional values of the gang members. Nevertheless, Belle Starr remained a close associate of the gang until their eventual disbandment in the late 1870s. In 1866, Belle Starr married Jim Reed, a former Confederate guerrilla who had become a notorious outlaw in his own right. Together, they had two children, Rosie Lee and James Edwin. Reed was killed in a gunfight in 1874, leaving Belle Starr a widow at just 26 years old. After Reed's death, Belle Starr married a Cherokee man named Sam Starr, who was also an outlaw. They had one child together, a daughter named Pearl. The couple lived together in Indian Territory, now Oklahoma, and continued to engage in criminal activities. Despite their criminal lifestyle, Belle and Sam Starr were known to be devoted to each other and their family. They lived in a cabin in the woods, where Belle enjoyed gardening and horseback riding. Belle was known to have a soft spot for animals, and she was often seen riding with her pet eagle perched on her shoulder. However, Belle and Sam Starr's criminal activities would eventually catch up with them. They were arrested multiple times, and in 1883, Belle Starr was finally convicted of horse theft and sentenced to 9 months in prison. After her release, she continued to engage in criminal activities, but her reputation and influence had begun to decline. In 1889, Sam Starr was killed in a gunfight, leaving Belle Starr once again a widow. She continued to live in Indian Territory until her own death in 1889, when she was shot and killed in her cabin. The circumstances of her death remain a mystery to this day, but Belle Starr's legacy as one of the most notorious outlaws of the Old West lives on. Despite her declining reputation and the deaths of her husbands, Belle Starr continued to live a life of crime until her own death. She was shot and killed in her cabin in Indian Territory in 1889, at the age of 41. The circumstances surrounding her death remain a mystery, and it is not clear who was responsible. Belle Starr's death only added to her legend as one of the most notorious outlaws of the Old West. Her flamboyant personality, association with the James Younger gang, and mysterious death have all contributed to her lasting legacy. She has been the subject of numerous books, films, and television shows, and her life has become a part of American folklore. While Belle Starr's criminal activities were undoubtedly illegal and harmful, her legacy also represents a certain kind of independent spirit and rebellion against societal norms. She was a woman who refused to conform to the expectations of her time and instead chose to live life on her own terms. As such, Belle Starr remains an enduring symbol of the Wild West and the rebellious spirit that defined it. Belle Starr was one of the most notorious outlaws of the Old West. Her association with the James Younger gang, her marriages to two outlaws, and her own criminal activities have all contributed to her lasting legacy. Despite her reputation as an outlaw, Belle Starr also represents a certain kind of independent spirit and rebellion against societal norms. As we've seen in this video, Belle Starr's life was marked by both triumphs and tragedies. Her romantic relationships, her family life, and her criminal activities all contributed to her complex persona. While some of her actions were undoubtedly illegal and harmful, her legacy as a symbol of the Wild West and the rebellious spirit that defined it lives on. We hope you've enjoyed learning about Belle Starr, one of the most fascinating and enigmatic figures of the Old West.